My name is Leo, and I work in a small, old bookshop. The shop smells of paper and dust, a scent I usually love. But when night comes, the long shadows between the shelves can feel lonely. Last Tuesday, the rain was hitting the windows like small, angry fists. The clock on the wall showed 9:58 p.m. We close at 10 p.m. I was cleaning the front counter, tired and ready to lock the door for the night. I just wanted to go home to my warm apartment and my cat, Milo. Just as I reached for the sign on the door to turn it to closed, the little bell above it rang. Jingle. A man walked in, bringing the cold night with him. He was very tall and thin, and he wore a long, dark coat that was dripping with rain. He did not have an umbrella. As he passed the front window, I noticed something strange. He had no reflection in the glass. He smelled like wet leaves and cold, deep earth. "We are closing in 2 minutes," I said, trying to keep my voice friendly. The man smiled. His smile was too wide for his face, and his eyes were dark, empty pools. They did not seem to blink. "I will be quick," he said. His voice was a low whisper, like the wind under a door. He started to walk through the shop. He was completely silent. His wet shoes made no sound on the old wooden floor. A cold feeling started in my stomach. The feeling of being watched grew stronger. "Are you looking for a specific book?" I asked loudly, my voice echoing in the quiet shop. He turned his head slowly, his neck moving like a puppet's. "Yes," he said. "I am looking for a book with a red cover, but the pages must be empty. It must have no words inside." This was a very strange request. We sell notebooks, but he was standing in the history section. "Do you mean a notebook?" I asked. "No," he said, and the wide smile returned. "A book. For a friend. He has many stories, but he has run out of space." He continued to walk, his dark eyes scanning the shelves. I stayed behind the counter, my heart beating faster and faster. After a minute that felt like an hour, he stopped. He reached a long, pale hand to a high shelf and pulled down a book. It was an old book with a dark red leather cover. He brought it to my counter and placed it down softly. The cover felt cold. I opened it. The pages were yellow with age, but they were all completely blank. I had worked in this shop for 3 years, and I had never seen this book before. "This is perfect," the man whispered. "How much?" My mind was blank. There was no price. I just wanted him to leave. $5, I said. It was the first number I thought of. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small, heavy coin. He put it on the counter. It was not normal money. It was old and made of dark silver, with a strange, screaming face on it. It felt cold like ice against my skin when I picked it up. I put the book in a paper bag. As I handed it to him, our fingers touched for a second. His skin felt like cold stone. I pulled my hand back quickly. "Thank you," he said. He took the bag and walked to the door. He opened it and stepped out into the rain. The bell on the door did not ring. I ran to the door and locked it, my hands shaking. I leaned against it, taking deep breaths. I was finally alone. I looked at the security camera screen behind the counter. I pressed the button to rewind the video, to prove to myself that the strange man was real. I watched the last 5 minutes. I saw myself cleaning. I saw myself look up at the door. I saw myself talking and smiling at the empty air. I saw myself take a red book from a shelf, put it in a bag, and place it on the counter. Then I picked up the bag and put it down again. On the screen, the shop was empty. There was no tall man. There was no long, dark coat. There was only me. My blood turned to ice. I felt sick. I quickly turned off the lights, grabbed my coat, and ran out of the shop. I didn't look back. When I got home, I threw the cold silver coin into a drawer and tried to forget about it. That night, I had a terrible dream about a room full of empty red books and a man with a wide smile who wrote stories without a pen. The next day, I was afraid to go to work, but I needed my job. I went to the bookshop, my heart pounding. Everything looked normal. The sun was shining. I told myself it was just a bad dream, that I was just too tired. I spent the morning helping customers, trying to act normal. Around noon, my boss asked me to clean the high shelves in the history section. The same shelves from last night. My hands trembled as I climbed the ladder. I moved some old books and saw something behind them. It was another book. A book with a dark red leather cover. It was identical to the one from last night. My breath caught in my throat. With a shaky hand, I took the book down from the shelf. I was afraid to open it. I carried it to the back room and sat down at a small table. Finally, I opened it. The pages were not blank. They were full of neat, perfect handwriting. The ink was a dark, watery black. I started to read. My name is Leo, and I work in a small old bookshop. I love my job, but I also love when it is time to go home. Last Tuesday, it was raining hard. It was the story of my night. Every detail was there. The tall man, the cold coin, the camera footage, the bad dream. My fear this morning. It described everything that had happened, word for word. I turned the pages faster and faster, my eyes wide with terror. I read about my boss asking me to clean the shelves. I read about me finding the second red book. I read about me taking it to the back room. I reached the last sentence on the page. It said, "He sits at the small table, his heart pounding, and he reads the last words on the page as his own fear turns to ice." I stared at the sentence. I was living the words as I read them. With a trembling finger, I turned to the next page, needing to know what happened next. The page was blank. But as I watched, new words began to appear on the paper, slowly forming out of the empty page, written by an invisible hand. The first new word was Leo.